We are excited to kick off the show with an announcement of a new partnership with NordVPN. It's the leading VPN service that will not only help protect your online privacy, but also open up options for streaming audio, news, and video platforms. It has come up a lot on this podcast where we all have experience trying to get online to track and stream a race, only to find out it's not available in our region. We know how much you froth watching running races and getting good coverage, while NordVPN could be the game changer. How about booking flights and hotels for your next race? Take advantage of ensuring you get the best pricing, and we know how much Croaks loves to save money, and this is one of his personal hacks. NordVPN keeps your information encrypted, so you never have to worry about your IP or location getting out. Also, with NordVPN, once you are abroad and want to access all your streaming services from back home, then you can just switch your virtual location to back to home on your device. And with thanks to the legends at NordVPN, they have partnered with Inside Running Podcast to offer all our listeners an exclusive NordVPN deal by going to nordvpn.com/inside running, where you get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months on top of that. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So give it a shot on nordvpn.com/inside running and don't miss streaming the next race. Welcome to episode number 379 of the Inside Running Podcast. A massive thank you for being here for another week. We got a huge show for you this week. We got so many results to go through, not one but 2 Australian records we're going to chat about. We've also got some fast times in some indoor races overseas as well. Great listener question here. Some news about Athletes Australia and their rebrand. Some good whispers around, I guess, contract changes. I'll go on the loose because Moose isn't here. We've got a bit of stuff to preview going forward as well. Croaks, it's just me and you to start off with. How are you going? And welcome to episode number 379, the man who came third at the Canberra Marathon back in 2017.
17. Yeah, it's good, Brady. I'm looking forward to tonight. I think this is probably our biggest episode of the year so far in terms of like stuff to recap. It's been a bit light on running news, but yeah, there's a heap to unpack tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Big sponsor on this week as well, Croak. NordVPN. We're branching out from just the running brands, and we're going real big. NordVPN often sponsor the big podcasts out there, so we welcome their partnership for the Inside Running Podcast. Moose is away. He's having the week off. He did 2 episodes last week, Croaks, with our weekly show and Road to Ballarat. So we thought we should bring in someone to, just replace him, which is pretty easy to do these days. And I'd love to introduce our co-host because I'm super excited to have her on the show this week. She's an Olympic marathoner from the Tokyo Olympics and has a marathon PB of 2:26. She's the 6th fastest Australian ever over 10K and was ranked as high as 16th in the world, Croaks. She was only there for 1 week, but she was ranked 16th in the world. In 2023, she was 19th and first Australian at the World Cross Country Championships in Bathurst. In 2022, she was voted the most popular female distance runner in Australia. And every week, Croaks, I would get at least 10 messages asking where the bloody hell is this person. A huge welcome back to the Inside Running Podcast, Ellie Pashley.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
Good to have you back.
Spent the last 6 months just getting knocked further and further down on the all-time list, so that was a nice little confidence booster. Thanks, Brady.
Yeah, no, you're still up there. Went through the rankings today. Marathon, you moved down a bit. Half marathon as well, obviously, when these times are getting quicker, but you're still thereabouts.
I'm a long way off these days.
How
washed up news.
You going all right, though? Last time you raced, Ellie, it was like, I was looking at it today, was it like the 28th of April, 2024, the Hamburg Marathon for the 2:29.58. Then you popped up a bit on our Patreon shows throughout the Olympics, but a lot of listeners, they don't know where you've been, what you've been doing.
Well, I haven't been doing a lot of running. I've just been getting fatter by the week. So I'm 32 weeks pregnant at the moment. And yeah, I think I ran Hamburg and then I ran I actually ran Great Ocean Road half after Hamburg.
Yeah, true.
A couple of weeks later, and then I can't remember if I did any more races after that. But yeah, once I fell pregnant, my fitness goes downhill pretty quickly with pregnancy. I don't believe all these things they say about all the blood volume and how good it makes you at running when you're pregnant. But yeah, so I've just been plugging along down here, not doing much really.
Ellie, as Brady said, like we have so many requests for you on weekly, and like we knew that you weren't running, but it's like you didn't really make an announcement about your pregnancy, or not that I saw anywhere, and like we didn't want to then message these people saying, oh no, like she's not running, she's pregnant. Like, was there like a conscious decision not to announce that you were pregnant?
Oh, nah, sorry. You definitely could have written back to those people saying she was pregnant. That's what I had a few people messaging me who I could tell were trying to suss. And, that wasn't deliberate, the no announcement thing. I just, I don't know. I'm just not very good at Instagram, basically. And I just tell people when I see them that I'm pregnant. I think I told you guys pretty early because when we were doing the Olympics show, you were going to ask me, Brady.
That's right. What you've been up to.
Races I was going to do or what I'd been doing. And I was like, oh, maybe don't ask that because I'm pregnant, but it's still a bit too early to say it on the podcast. So, yeah.
I kind of like it in a way. Like I don't like the fact that people who are fans of your running couldn't follow your running and weren't sure what's up, but I also love the fact that it's kind of like private stuff. Like I'm not big on like kids being on social media all the time and things like that, and kind of I share so much of our life through the podcast. I kind of make a bit of a conscious decision not to, put my kids here, there and everywhere online. So yeah, I kind of can see both sides of it, and I think for you, you're just that chilled out. You're just like, nah, announcement. I'm 20 weeks, 25 weeks. It's too late to announce it now because I'm about to give birth, so I'll just roll with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes.
What's the due date, Ellie? And do you know if you're having a boy or a girl?
No, we don't know what we're having. So due end of March. And yeah, we'll see. I feel like it's a boy. This pregnancy feels a lot different to Tiggy. It's been like quite a bit harder, to be honest. So that's the only thing I'm basing it off. I don't think that there's any scientific evidence to say that means it's a boy, but yeah, definitely feels a bit different.
And have you been staying involved in the sport in terms of following all the results and what's impressed you over the last 6 months?
Yeah, I still follow it very closely. I feel like there's been so much happening this year. I loved watching the Olympics, watching how well the girls did. Like obviously Jess Hull and her silver medal. The marathon girls, Andy's record was really cool. Like that was 2:06 was just, yeah, that kind of blew my mind that we had an Aussie running that fast. What else Izzi's record on Sunday was insane as well. So yeah, I still watch a lot of running on YouTube and live streams and things like that and follow it. So it's been fun to follow, but I also nothing makes me more motivated than not being able to race and just watching how well everyone's been doing. The girls at Melbourne Half, that was a crazy race. I got to watch that. I was out on the bike riding around. So it's been lots happening. And
when you say this pregnancy has been harder, is it harder because you're a mum this time around, trying to do both those things, or you mean your fatigue levels, or how's it been harder?
Yeah, I think I've been a lot more tired. I don't really remember feeling that tired with Tig. I wasn't as I've been a lot more sick this time as well. So the first probably 16 weeks or so was pretty rough with sickness. So I felt that just knocked me a bit more. I certainly wasn't able to do as much running in the early days as I was last time. And then the fatigue thing's probably just because I have a 2-year-old now. So there's no relaxing time really across the day. So I think that's probably been the main thing there. But yeah, I'm not sleeping very well, and I don't know, all those fun things. But it hasn't been too bad. A lot of people have it so much worse, but I just have definitely found it more difficult than last time.
And you're running, did you run to like a certain amount of like times a week you were aiming for, or do you just listening to your body, or like what's that looked like the last 20 weeks?
Yeah, it's been a bit probably different to last time. Last time I ran quite a lot in the early days and then just gradually tapered it down, whereas this time, because I was quite sick early on, I didn't run much. Like I sort of just went day by day, and if I felt well enough to go for a jog, I'd go for a jog. Sometimes I actually felt like going for a run helped with my nausea for a bit, but then it would completely wipe me out for the rest of the day. So, yeah, I did less early on, and then through the middle, I was able to kind of pick it back up again. It's very unstructured. It's basically just like what I feel like on the day. I was trying to do a longer run on the weekend for as long as I could, which now is 30 minutes. And then not really any sessions or anything. I was sort of just doing, because I felt so rough early on, I would just do like strides or surges. And then once I sort of was able to run a little bit more, I kind of was at the point then where my belly was so big that I didn't really feel that comfortable running fast anyway. So it's just been jogging, basically slow running. I'm struggling on the hills, so it's all very flat and short and very slow now. So I think I'm pretty much at the end of my running now.
And
might be a couple more weeks out.
And in like a perfect world, like pregnancy, the birth goes well, like have you thought about what you want to do in like the second half of the year?
Yeah, definitely. Like I think having done it before, it's kind of nice, because I remember last time when you don't really know what it's going to be like to come back, you just have no idea whether you're going to be able to do it or not. And I feel like having been through it before, this time I'm more confident that I will be able to get back into it and hopefully start doing some races again, maybe 6 months or so post. Like obviously it all depends on how everything goes. The one thing I'm a bit nervous about is the logistics of 2 kids. I know that's going to make it a lot more challenging. But yeah, I think I'm pretty motivated to come back and try and just build up my fitness slowly. And then once I feel ready, start racing again, which I think last time I started racing again about 6 months or so post baby.
Was that pretty much World Cross trial? Was that pretty much first race or like second race back maybe?
Yeah, I did I did run Geelong in November, which would have been a little bit less than 6 months then. And then I did a 5K the week before World Cross trials. I think I was trying to decide whether I was going to do World Cross trials or not. And then I did that 5K and I was like, oh yeah, I'll just go and see. So yeah, that was 6 or 7. That was probably only 6 months or so after I'd had TIG, actually. Yeah, maybe 7 months.
Impressive.
So we'll see. Yeah, it might be a bit harder this time, but I'm definitely, like, motivation levels are just as high. Like both times I've found pregnancy, because it's so long that you're just not getting those kicks. Like because you're not racing and you're not training hard, you don't get that, that boost that you get from those things. And I think I really miss that. So I can't wait to get back into it.
How old are you these days, Ellie? Like, you'd be 37, similar to me, I reckon?
36, yeah.
36, yeah.
I'm pretty old.
Yeah, but like, obviously, women marathoning in Australia have proved that that's not old. And also, like, coming back from kids and stuff. And do you think, like, because you've been pregnant and had some time out of the sport over the last 3-4 years, that it kind of does mean you can go a bit, like, age isn't a limiting factor now because your training age is a bit different than the actual real age? Maybe,
yeah. I mean, your body gets a break from the intensity of training. Like, pregnancy and childbirth are pretty hard on your body in different ways. So, like, I found last time it took me a long time to get my strength back. Like, even once I was back running okay, I was still quite weak for, I reckon it took like 18 months or so. So I mean, hopefully I've, like, looking at, our women in their 40s, you've got Sinead, Lisa, Eloise, Jess is maybe just a tiny bit older than me. Like, I certainly think, I hope that I've got a couple of years left. I think Sinead and Lisa are kind of exceptions to the rule. Like, I think that's incredible, and I'm not expecting to be running into my mid-40s, but hopefully I've got a few more years left after this. And it's just that because it takes so long to get back, I'm aware that, by then I'm going to be kind of 38, getting on. But
Croaks as well. He's another one. He's old. He's still good.
Isn't it interesting though, like how many less men? Like I was listening to you guys a few weeks ago, and you were talking about the record for, is it 45?
Yeah, the one Croaks is going to get at Valencia.
And what is it? Like
2:25. It's slower than the over 45's women's record.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, Sinead's record 2:21 is the same age group. Like that is just that's crazy, isn't it? So then, it would be interesting to know exactly what the science behind it is. But you're doing good, Brad. Do
you reckon maybe part of
guys?
Like you're right though, there's not many males that are still running really, really well in their mid to late 40s. And do you think maybe it's like we lose maybe testosterone, like our testosterone levels drop and stuff like that, so maybe it does affect us a fair bit? I don't know, or we've just cooked our bodies too much.
Before but testosterone levels are not dropping to the same level that women's are at.
No.
Like we don't have anywhere near as much ever. Like it doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I can see why performance might, decline a little bit because of that, but it's,
I guess more as a percentage.
With female hormones too.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Don't get into the hormone stuff, Croaks. We did well with the pregnancy return to run last week when we were talking about those tights and stuff. We got to pretend we're still good at that. Did we go all right, Ellie?
You did all right there. Yeah, you did pretty good. You did pretty well.
What, correct us now, though, on what you'd want to correct us on?
No, I think there were probably just a few things that you wouldn't have thought about. The tights chat was funny, though. Yeah.
Our main point was go see a professional. See the maternal health nurse. Like, get on that first,
Yeah, that was good. That was good advice. It was just a funny question to pose to three. I mean, you've all seen your wives go through it, so you've got more knowledge than lots of guys, but thought it was kind of funny.
No, well, thanks for being here. I'm looking forward to chatting all these things with you tonight. We do have at least one special guest pop it in. So, Croaks, I'm going to keep an eye on the clock. We're going to get as much content down as possible, and hopefully it lines up pretty well. Do you want to take us through your week first, Croaks?
Yep, this will save a fair bit of time because it's not a massive week of training. I kicked off on Monday, so I definitely wanted to increase the amount that I had been running just to see what would happen with my Achilles. So I got out on Monday morning. I did just over 40 minutes at 4:29s, and that was all feeling like really good. Didn't really have any sort of pain running. Then I missed Tuesday and Wednesday. I reckon it would have been I was looking after the kids, didn't get up early enough to run before Viv went to work, and then by the time she got home it was like 35 degrees. And because I'm not fit, and it doesn't really matter if I miss a couple of more days, I was just like, nah, I'll skip Tuesday, Wednesday. So then I got out Thursday morning for just over 11K at 4:35s. And I think this was, once again, feeling like pretty good, maybe like a little bit of awareness. And then Friday I went a little bit longer again, so just under an hour at 4:32s. And maybe towards the back end it was starting to get niggly. So I was like, so I just keep increasing things or not. So I ended up having Saturday off. I was going to run Saturday, but once again, by the time we had like Lily's little athletics in the morning, and then it was just really hot. So I was just like, you know what, I'll try and run just longer on Sunday and try and hit 50K. And I was messaging Nitter a couple of weeks ago just about like my heel, and just asked him about like Hageland's deformity and whether like people generally need to like get surgery for it to be better. And he said, look, try all of the non-invasive things first. So obviously like your anti-inflams, icing, heel raisers in your shoes. And he also mentioned that like sometimes the soft heel cups in shoes can help. And the like Mizuno, the Neo Vista Brady, like that heel, like you can basically push the heel back down on itself into the shoe. Like there's no support there in that heel cup whatsoever. So I thought, you know what, I've got a brand new pair of Neo Vista in the garage. I will put a heel pitch in those and see how that goes. And I found, because I was a bit worried with the Mizuno shoes, that they're quite squishy. And when I when I wore the Neo Zen, it did aggravate my Achilles a little bit. But I found putting the heel raise in, it added just a little bit more support to the heel, made it a little bit harder, so I didn't sink into it as much. And I was able to run 17K yesterday at 4:18s, and like I had no pain at all. So so that's pretty encouraging. So for me, it's obviously more of a pressure against the heel because I don't have a lot of pain walking around. Even getting out of bed in the mornings, it's pretty good. So that ended up being a week of 50K. I ran just over 10K again this morning, same shoes, and once again it felt fairly good. So I'm going to try and jog a little bit more this week, so maybe like 70K, and then maybe look to add a light session next week, but try and find session shoes that have that soft heel counter as well. So I think things are progressing, going in the right direction, and if it flares up again, I'll probably go and just get a scan to see if it's if the bursa is really inflamed, then maybe I can get a jab. Thoughts, Ellie, given the physio?
A lot of people, I know the heel counter is really has a big part to play in how much pressure is on that spot. Are you doing any like isometric loading stuff?
Yeah, I have been. Yeah, I have been. I was doing quite a bit a few weeks ago, and then I got a little bit lazy with it. But what I find, even like today, because I went for a ride with Lily and wore like a pair of shoes that had a bit of a harder heel counter, and so I was a bit niggly throughout the day. And any time it sort of got sore, I'd go and do like 5 minutes of these isometrics. I got a backpack with some weights in it. And as soon as I do it, like I'll walk around, and for the next hour, I don't feel it at all. So
you got to be like extremely rigid with it and do it every single day, as heavy as you can tolerate without pain, and really like stick to it consistently, because it actually it makes a massive difference.
Yeah.
The other thing, like Lockie, one of the guys in our training group, I know he finds the SC Elites, the New Balance racing shoe, really good on his heels. So he'll often wear that even jogging as well, just because I think there's something about, I don't know, it's not like a really soft heel counter. It wouldn't be like the Neo Vista, but it must be the shape or the padding. But everybody's heel's probably a little bit different too.
I was actually using that shoe a lot when it was really bad. I was doing my treadmill sessions with that shoe, and it actually wasn't causing me much pain at all. So that is a good shoe. I felt like as well, it was just, I didn't sink into it as much. I felt like I had a bit more of a drop in it compared to a bit more of the minimal flat. So anyway, things are progressing really well. It's certainly not as sore when I push on the heel. So I'm guessing that's a good sign.
That's good. Yeah. You just be careful with hills and intensity.
She's still got it, Croak. See the New Balance reference in there? Just worked you around from Mizuno to New Balance, just to end the conversation with.
About time I do something for New Balance. I haven't done much for them in the last 6 months.
Nah, you're still with them though, aren't you? Like they support you through. Yeah, that's great from a brand.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. And I'm signed with them again for this 2025. So
Yeah, no whispers coming across my desk about you moving. Got everyone else, but not you.
I don't think I'd have any other offers.
Get back to that later on. It's good, Croaks. You're on the right path there. You're right. That Mizuno shoe is good, though. That was my shoe of the year last year, just for easy days. Best shoe getting around.
Is that blue? Is that the blue one?
That's the blue one, the first one. Yeah. And Croaks doesn't get paid by Mizuno either, Ali. Like, he just loves their shoes. I had an athlete message me the other day saying I bought some of those Neo Zens because Croaks talks about them so much on the podcast. She loves them, and I'm like, this is a great influence by Croaks. So all they got to do is give him a pair of shoes and you just go with it. That's good. Ali, you got a weekly recap to give us? Give us something. Gym work?
Do you want to hear it?
Freddy's?
It's pretty boring.
What have you been watching on Netflix? Any of that stuff? Give us something.
I did a couple of jogs and a couple of ellipticals.
Okay.
It's so boring.
What kind of pace are you jogging at?
So the 27th was Monday, wasn't it? I actually didn't jog at all on Monday. I had Monday off. I think I was feeling a bit crap and it was really hot, so I had a rest day Monday. Tuesday I ran 5.3 Ks. So there's a little loop. Like I'm finding as well that like soft single track. I've got to be a bit careful not to fall over on single track, but it actually feels a lot nicer on my body than if I just run out and back on the road or like the gravel roads. I run too fast and then I get sore. So I've actually taken my runs onto this little single track just out the back of Aries, which is pretty flat. But I think that sort of slight variation in terrain and just the soft dirt is actually a lot nicer on my body. So I've got a little loop that I do there. So I did 5.3 Monday, 5:08 pace. Heart rate probably pretty high still. The next day I did the same. So same loop, 5:04 pace, getting fitter. Day after that I did elliptical for 30 minutes. I think I was actually I'm starting to get a bit sore if I run 2 days in a row. So didn't do that again. And then elliptical the next day, another 30 minutes. And then I think I had a rest day Saturday. The last couple of weeks I actually haven't been feeling very well again. I've been a bit, just feeling a bit off. So I'm throwing in rest days whenever I don't feel up to doing anything. And then yesterday I went out. I was just going to jog, walk, but I actually ended up feeling all right. So I just did that same loop again, 5.3K, 5:11 pace. So that was a 15-kilometre week with a couple of ellipticals. And I did do gym. I did some strength stuff on 2 days, but my strength program's pretty basic these days as well. So,
more Ks than Moose ran last week. So. Good replacement.
That's true. Low weeks has trended around here the last month.
Comparing myself to those, to Jules and a couple of the other boys in our training group, and I kept reminding them I was still running more than them even when I was 25 weeks pregnant. But I'm on the decline now. So,
as mentioned earlier in the show, NordVPN has partnered with the Inside Running podcast to offer you an amazing discount. Head over to nordvpn.com/inside running to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan plus 4 additional months on top. Think of NordVPN as your personal bodyguard for your online activity. It encrypts your internet traffic, shielding your personal information from those prying eyes and online criminals with state-of-the-art encryption. It can help you book flights and hotels for your next race, as well as when you're over there, you can connect to a NordVPN server in your home country and safely enjoy the content as if you never left. Wherever you travel, perfect if you want to follow local Aussie sport. With NordVPN, you can access all your streaming services from back home. Don't forget, there is literally no risk to you with their 30-day money-back guarantee. Give it a try, and if you like it, great. If you don't, they'll issue a refund and you can pretend the entire situation never even happened. Check out the link, nordvpn.com/inside running to get your subscription started today.
Very good. I'll whistle through this week. Monday, I did 70 minutes, 4:40 pace. Tuesday, did a track workout. Hopefully you can understand this one, Bradley. It was 8 sets of 400, 200 with 200-metre jog after each rep. So it's pretty much 1K per set. And you do that 8 times, which gives you 8K all up. So I did it on the grass track. So what's that, 20 laps? Yeah, 20 laps. 72 seconds for the 4s, 34 seconds for the 2s. So the plan was to go a bit quicker on the 200s. 200 jogs were 53, 54, so they weren't absolute shuffles. I'm still not feeling fast, but I'm telling myself that 3 minutes and 250 pace for the 200s is fast enough for me these days. And on a grass track, it's wet and stuff as well, shitty grass oval. So I think it was all right. It was definitely harder than the 20 by 400s I've been doing. Your heart rate just doesn't get a chance to drop down when you're jogging 200 in 50-ish seconds. So that was good, honest work. Got out for 7K in the afternoon at 450s. Wednesday, 90 minutes at 424s. I was back at work on Wednesday, meetings and stuff. There was no kids there, but we had a whole heap of meetings and classroom set up, all that kind of stuff. I don't actually get paid on a Wednesday, Croaks, but I just went in to just get organised. That's what school teachers do. Go to work when you're not getting paid. But that's what we're doing.
It's not what they do all summer holidays.
Yeah, I'm writing reports, lesson plans all summer, Haley. Anyway, don't get me started on school teacher bashing. Got out for 7K after work, my volunteer work for 4:38 pace. Thursday was actually the first day of school for the kids and my teaching day. got out for 60 minutes at 4:36 pace. It was also Hudson's first day at school. So, like, I was, like, really, like, weird feeling the whole day. Like, he was at my school in prep, and I'm like, I got moved to grade 6 this year, so I'm at, like, the complete opposite end of the school, and we got a big school. And I just found myself, like, just thinking about him the whole day. Like, I could literally see his classroom through my window, like, across the yard, and I'm like, oh, I wonder how he's going. And, like, he's my little baby. And he's in the school uniform, and then you walk past him at, like, recess and lunchtime, and they all look the same. You can just tell who's who by their shoes. And, yeah, I was quite, like, I wouldn't say emotional, but I felt like my mind was just wandering the whole day, just wondering how he was coping in the big life, in school life.
How did he go?
Yeah, he loved it. He seemed pretty happy. It's just kicking in now. He just had his 3rd day today that he has to go for the next 13 years. So, yeah, we're having a few tantrums, like, after school. I think he's doing a pretty good job of just holding it in, and just so much. Like, they just, even the second day, they did, like, PE, performing arts. Like, they hit the ground running.
They'd be so exhausted while they get used to it, wouldn't they?
Yeah, their minds, like, what their, like, mental capacity of just taking everything in must just be huge. So, yeah, it was a fun day for our family on Thursday. Got out for 7K after school at 4:44 pace. Friday, did a workout pre-work. So this was pretty early, maybe like just after 6 a.m. warm-up. Did 4 2K reps with 90 seconds jog between, around about 3:15 pace. And then I jumped on the grass track again to try to do some quicker 400s. Off a minute these were. So I went 72, 69, 68, 67. Like, 67 felt like it was a 57, but that's just where I'm at the moment. But, yeah, that was okay. And then Saturday I did my long run. So, like, we've had this heat wave start in Echuca Moama. Kind of started with 39 degrees on Saturday, but Saturday morning was much cooler than it was going to be Sunday morning. So I just bought this 24 hours earlier. I wanted to still be able to get some quality in it. Like, so, yeah, I did 34K at 4:16s. Probably got to 20 degrees by the end, but it was good. Kind of just went out and back on this dirt road for a while. Listened to the Road to Berlin boys. That was good. And then a bit of, like, Fireball Friday on SEN. Passed the time quickly. Heart rate was 135 for that. So I feel like I'm in a good spot now with these longer runs. Like, I'm getting 34K done, and it doesn't feel that difficult. And then Sunday did 16K at 4:41 pace. This was hot. This was like, I don't know, like 25 degrees at like 7:30 a.m. or something like that when I went. So, yeah, glad I moved that longy a day forward. Week of 155, 5th week in a row now, Croaks at 155. So this is where you start to see some fitness, I reckon, when you string the consistency together.
Racing Friday?
I don't know. They're enforcing the spike rules. So I offered to pace, because if I pace, I can wear whatever I want. But I'm looking at the weather, like it's, 37 degrees during the day, windy, drive down after work. Feel like I just might do a workout Friday morning. And they did ask me to do the commentary, but still a long way to go. I didn't really want to commentate the A race. I wouldn't know what's happening in all the other races. So I think I'll pass. But I'm hoping to, like, have a marathon, like sign up for a marathon soon. Like, that's the plan. That's what I want to do. Like,
You're not doing Ballarat?
I want to do Ballarat. I kind of said, when I was like building back fitness, I was like, I want to make the call like 10 weeks out. I don't want to do Ballarat unless I can run like well there. So I wanted to like do this block now to get to 10 weeks out to be like, all right, now I'm happy to commit to a April marathon. There's also like Canberra and Wollongong, like real close together as well. So
do you feel like you're on track? So, because what is
what
do you got
weeks.
like?
Plenty of time.
You got another 10, like you got another 2 weeks until that 10 weeks out where you're going to commit. So you're happy
to be able to run 34K and not struggle through it, even at like 4:15s in like 20 degrees. I think that's a good sign. The thresholds are coming back down to like, I feel like I'm comfortable at 3:15 pace, which is kind of where I'm at when I'm running well. So yeah, I think I've just got to survive this.
You've got to be patient sometimes with fitness, don't you?
Oh yeah. And just even
Why don't you want to wear spikes?
I've got a bit of a sketchy Achilles, and I also just feel, I'm not sure if you can remember years and years ago, I went to Melbourne and wore a pair of spikes, and I've still got like a bit of demons about it. I went and ran a 3K on the track at Vic Milers Club, and I ran like 8:48 for 3K in a pair of spikes.
Yeah. And then he came out a week later in a pair of like 4% and smashed it.
I ran 14:09 for 5K, went through 3K in like 8:30. And I think I am like biomechanically like adapted to super shoes. So
yeah, that's funny. I thought you would be quite good with spikes with your running style and.
Yeah, maybe. And I don't get a chance to practice because we don't have a synthetic track. So I'm just like that's the first feel I get of what spikes feel like on a track when I'm actually in the race.
The spikes are so good these days. Like I
want those New Balance ones. Can you get me some of those?
Mm-hmm. The New Balance ones are awesome, but I reckon the ones that I've got are now illegal. Would that be right? Because
what was
one of their spike types is actually now too high. So I'm sure they've got new ones that they're sending people, but I haven't required them lately. But I reckon one of them was like 24 mil or something. So it was going to get banned at the end of 2024. But yeah, the New Balance spikes are really good. And it's so different to what spikes were like, however many years ago. It's just like wearing, yeah.
It's kind of like risk versus reward for me though. It's like, I've just got back rolling. Do I want to put a pair of spikes on and go run 14:45 and then cook my Achilles for the next 3 weeks? When all I really care.
Achilles would be cooked from 5K
in
spikes these days. But yeah, I mean, fair enough. If you don't care about it, then there's no point doing it.
And if it's
30, care about the marathon.
37 degrees and windy, you're probably not running 14:45 anyway.
Probably running 15:45 croaks.
Yeah. If it's not a race that you actually want to do, then.
Yeah. We'll see though. I might be on here next week recapping a 5K race. See what happens.
Get his face in the newspaper. That's the reason he would want to do it.
Not in Bendigo, mate. I'm like the 15th best runner in Bendigo these days. No one cares about me running down there anymore. Anyway.
It's a 5K frenzy.
Yeah, you've won it. Ellie was like special guest one year.
I think I did it. Was that the first year they had it?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it was good fun.
That was a good race. I think numbers looking pretty good. Field's looking pretty good. Reese Edwards was requesting 14:10.
Ooh.
Which is good. Yeah, 68s, he said. Paced me through 68. I'm like, ooh, that's pretty sharp. So
who else like the twins and stuff from Bendigo doing it?
Not sure about the twins. Matty Buckle. Actually, I don't know if Matt Buckle's put anything on Strava for a while. He was training the house down up at Falls Creek. But now you mention it, I haven't seen anything from him. Nate Stote's running. Logan Janetsky's coming down. Bailey Mazicki Hink. Al Christie, he's down on the list. Yeah, it's a pretty decent field in the men's. Women's, they were still trying real hard to get some faster people, a quality field together. So see what happens there. Anyway, thanks some Patreon supporters, Croaks. Who we got?
I've got Daniel Saltis. He's from the UK and runs for Cornwall Athletics Club. Used to be an elite triathlete and has PBs of 15:33 for 5K from the 2023 Interservice 5,000 metres, 31:42 at last year's Telford 10K, 69:41 at last year's Big Half, and 2:29 at the Marine Corps Marathon in the US. And pretty sure he's a helicopter pilot for the Royal Navy. So that'd be a pretty cool job, I'd imagine. Thanks for your support, Daniel.
Amazes me every week, Croak, some of these job positions.
Yeah. It's like when you ask a kid what do they want to be when they grow up. A helicopter pilot for the Navy, I reckon it'd be a pretty good one. Yeah,
thank you, Daniel, for your support. Hopefully you enjoy the UK boys. They just recorded last night and haven't got around to listening yet, but big name guest on there as well, Croak. Should I tell you who popped in? Jake Smith.
I saw a screenshot, yeah.
Jake Smith popped into their show, so that should be good to listen to. I'm going to save that for my 90 minutes tomorrow, So,
it'd be interesting to hear how he's going.
Yeah, he'll be up and about. Ali, you got someone to thank this week?
Yep. I've got Tara Carson from Yarra Glen, but she actually lives over in Adelaide for uni. She's run 19:15 at Lilydale Park Run, 87 at the 2021 Melbourne Half, and 3:14 at the 2022 Melbourne Marathon. Based on Strava, it looks like she's training for Ballarat. She studied a Bachelor of Agricultural Science, Plant and Soil Science at the University of Melbourne and is now studying a Masters of Viticulture and Winemaking at the University of Adelaide. She used to work at the running company possibly Clifton Hill.
I think it was the
maybe even if she ran Lilydale Park Run. There's a running company in Lilydale as well.
Okay, yeah, I saw on the Strava she was a member of the running company Clifton Hill Strava group, so I just assumed it was that one, but yeah.
Thank you, Tara, for your support. I'm going to thank Dale Fuder. I'm stoked he gave me Dale to thank, Croaks. He's from Sydney, runs for the Sydney Striders. I think he's like the MVP for the Sydney Striders, to be honest. He's always helping him out, pace and run stuff, long runs, all that kind of stuff. Has run 42.58 at last year's Sydney 10, 1:38 at the 2023 New South Wales Half Marathon Championships, and he ran 3:36, which was an 8-minute PB at the 2023 Gold Coast Marathon. Was that 2023, 2024, Croaks?
I think it was 2023.
I reckon it was last year, wasn't it? I don't know. I should know this because I coached Dale. I'm going to have to look this up in a second.
All right.
But I reckon Croaks has stitched him up with that year there.
Didn't he do Berlin?
Yeah, he did Gold Coast last year as well. Look it up because I'm pretty sure I'm right. Put a slab on it if you want.
Also ran Berlin last year.
He's got
his years mixed up.
Yeah, Croaks has it, which I'll cut Croaks some slack because it's January. You know, it's always weird when it's like last year, this year, start of the year. I'm pretty sure he owns Roseville Fresh Foods. That's correct, Croaks, he does. So he's like fresh food guy. He's up at sometimes like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning doing his runs before he goes to the market to get all the fresh food for those customers at Roseville Fresh Foods. You will not find a more dedicated bloke to his training and the nicest guy getting around. He'd give you the shirt off his own back, always doing stuff for other people, always got time for other people. Very generous person, Dale Fuder. Croaks, this is where you apologise for getting the year wrong.
Sometimes at 2 a.m.
2 a.m, yep.
That is the earliest. I've seen a couple of 3-somethings on Strava. I've never seen a 2-something. Right. That is crazy.
We'll get some screenshots for you so you can tick that off your bingo card.
Sorry, Dale.
Good on you, Dale.
Got the year wrong, Croaks?
Yeah, but I reckon I might have went off the race, that race view net or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm gonna blame them if that's right. I'll send you the link.
Usually go to their Stravas. That's the most accurate one. But anyway, thank you to all our Patreon supporters of the Inside Running Podcast. If you like what we do, patreon.com/Inside Running Podcast. There's details there of how you can support us for as low as $5 a month. There's also a level that has bonus content, and we're being loaded in the bonus content at the moment. We had the Road to Berlin boys do a show the other day. The UK guys did a show this morning I just mentioned. What else we got coming up this week, Croaks? Is Moose doing Shoe Geeks? I think he's doing that this week as well.
And then you'll have the monthly again. The monthly,
Chriso's got a big announcement. He's been like at me. He's like, when are we doing the monthly with Toby? And I'm like, it's all right, just settle down. It's in the schedule to come out soon. So if you like listening to running content, we got you covered there. Running news, thanks to our race results partner, Axel Coffee, our official caffeine partners, helping us wake up every morning. The big one was Marugame, wasn't it? Well, it kind of was. I feel like we just got that many results over the weekend, but this was the first one that come into my attention. And we had a new Australian record. Izzi Batt-Doyle ran 16:17. She broke Karen McCann's national...
67:17.
What did I say?
16:17. Pretty quick.
67:17, breaking Karen McCann's national record, which was 67:48. And that was from the year 2000. So it stood for ages. And I was a bit sad when I saw, not sad, but I'm like, obviously Karen McCann passed away. Like, it's one less reason to remember Karen McCann now that her record's gone. Stoked that Izzy got it because it's bloody fast, 67:17. And I'm sure people still associate Karen with, Com Games 2006 coming in the stadium, out kicking the Kenyan.
Yeah.
But,
people will never forget that. I feel like that was more her legacy. That the half marathon record was amazing, but it was that 2006 Com Games gold.
And I guess, and that's sort of the trade-off, isn't it? Like that saying about, records will be broken, but if you win a Commonwealth Games medal, that never goes away from you. It's yours forever. So, I think Karen was always better known for those marathon victories compared to this half marathon record.
Did you think it was untouchable, Ellie? Because there's some people in the running commentary that did think this record wouldn't go down.
I didn't think it was untouchable, but we've had, I feel like in the last 5 years, a lot of women, really, really marathon fit, run fast half marathons, and no one has got even close to it. Like 68 high, and Lauren Ryan recently 68:43 was she? Like that was, that was as close as we've got. And then Izzy's come out and run a minute and a half quicker than that. Like it's, I didn't think the record necessarily was untouchable, but I didn't think someone was just going to come out and like smash it basically. 67 low is, that's a whole nother level really in the half marathon to what we've seen over the last few years. Like we've had lots of 69s, a few 68 highs, but that's just, crazy. I mean, like Izzy, we probably should have expected it really. Like she's run 222 high in the marathon plus her 5K, 10K times that she's been running this year. Like that range is just crazy. She was probably perfectly primed to run a really fast half. She just hadn't done it in the last 12 months or so. So crazy.
Yeah, I agree. I think she had all the ingredients there. Like, cause I think you compare it to a guy. Like if you've got a male runner who's running 14:49 for 5K and they're strong, you'd expect them to run 67 for a half.
Yeah, that's true. And 222 for a marathon.
Yeah.
Does
this now put her, like, I think that she can get the marathon record based off this as well. Does that go down in Nagoya?
How many weeks away is it?
Nah, I don't know. Nagoya is
4, 5?
early March. Yeah, it must be 5 weeks, I reckon. Or 4.5 weeks. I don't know. I mean, the tricky thing is she ran Valencia and she was like a minute and a half off the record. I don't know if Nagoya is going to be the place for that. And I still think Sinead's record's going to stand for a while. I think 221 is, I still think that's crazy. But, I mean, it makes you think she's really bloody fit and she could run really fast in Nagoya. But I don't think I think if she couldn't do it at Valencia, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Nah,
she
had the shoe issue.
Yeah,
remember?
she had blisters and whatnot. I think, maybe not Nagoya, but I think she stays healthy till the end of the year and goes back to Valencia, then I think there's a very good chance.
Stealing this from Chris in our DMs, is she got the best range of any Aussie distance runner of all time? 5K through to the marathon.
Or what about Benita?
Benita
had faster, probably actually not a heap faster than Izzy over 5K, but Benita was also pretty fast over 1,500 and 3K.
She was,
And she ran a faster marathon. She ran 2:22:40.
Benita was Benita was a 1,500 metre runner there, like early on in her career.
Remember that photo with that stack at Was it Prefontaine Classic? You know the photo I'm talking about? I reckon Paula Radcliffe's in it as well. This is like a real old photo. There was a stack at like it would have been Golden Spike or pre-Diamond League too, wouldn't it, Croaks? Back in your day.
I don't remember the photo.
I'll see if I can find it for our socials this year. But I reckon that was Benita in a 1,500. I'm getting caught up. Maybe I'm completely wrong. Izzy's ability though
that's the best range at the moment, like of anyone at the moment by far.
Yeah, her ability to handle mileage, like that's what she seems to be able to do that not a lot of people can.
Nah, particularly female athletes. Like there aren't that many female athletes that can run 190, 200 Ks a week and not get injured.
Yeah, sky's the limit there. Callie Thackeray was in the same race. She was second, 66:58. The story continues, Croaks. How good she got since she left Australia.
Yeah, no, I think that puts her third on the UK rankings behind Paula and McColgan.
Yeah, okay. And then we also had in the men's. So Andy Buchanan moved to second fastest of all time. Took about a minute off his PB, 60:28. Haftu Strintzos. I didn't even know he was running. You know he was there, Chris?
No, neither did I.
No one was tracking him. No one knew he was there.
everyone was talking about him before it.
No, yeah.
I've been talking about him for years, Ellie. He's been one to watch. He's been on our one.
But no, everyone was saying Andy versus Brett, versus Brett. And Haftu's come out not far behind Andy.
Yeah, 8 seconds, 60.36. So I think that moves him to third all time. Brett Robinson was the next Aussie there in 61.58. Dean Menzies was also there in 65.08. I reckon Michael Marantelli was there too, Croaks, in 66 something.
Okay.
And you see my man Jake Barakoff, he ran 63. Remember I interviewed him, the high mileage guy from Japan?
Yep.
There was a bit going on. There was also like the first Japanese runner to ever run under 60 minutes. 2 guys did it. So that was pretty cool to watch that. I guess Brett Robinson's a bit of a talking point. Like 2 minutes off what he ran there for the national record when he won this race. Like he did run 66 at Melbourne in October. So this is a step in the right direction. But like surely is an elite athlete. He'd got to be disappointed with that, wouldn't he?
I don't think 61.58's a disaster. Like it's still fast running, and you got to remember, like Brett's very much still on the comeback trail,
the return from injury,
from the injuries he had last year. Like I don't think you get over that so quickly. And when you think about when he did run sub 60, it's like he had strung together like a really consistent block. And as we know, like consistency is everything. And if you don't have the consistency, you might string together 3 or 4 months, which he's sort of done, but I still don't think his mileage is huge at the moment. He's heading in the right direction, but obviously, I'm sure he wouldn't like losing to those other guys. Like Haftu for me, like remember we spoke about him around Zatopek because he ran that good half marathon in Melbourne behind Andy as his debut, and then he got towed up at the Vic 5K champs, and then didn't have a great Zatopek either. So it'd be interesting to know what has changed for him to sort of get back into the form that we expect from him.
Yeah, he's talking to him today. He's going to get a little bit of audio for us the next couple of days, so I'll put that on. Maybe even pop into next week's show. Not sure where we're going to use that yet, but that'd be interesting because he has moved from On to Adam Diddick. I'm not sure if he's still living in Melbourne or where he's based, but the program's changed.
Coaching?
Yeah,
Adam coaching him?
Yeah, Adam's coaching him as well. So
was he in that pack with Brett and Andy, or was he further back and he's come through at the end?
Well,
I don't know because
I'll try to get his splits here for you.
What are your thoughts on Brett, Ellie?
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually reckon that sacral stressor he had from the rumours that I heard was pretty nasty, and it takes a long time to come back when you have that much time off. And then if you're building back up and you've got to be so careful after a really nasty bone stress injury like that, I actually think he just needs a bit more time. I definitely don't think you can say Brett's done. Like he ran, what did he run? 2:08 or something. Like he didn't run that far off his PB. When was that? Before the Olympics, in the marathon that he did before the Olympics?
Yeah,
which wasn't that long ago.
I'm more met like you've won this race before, and then you come in and getting like, it must be a weird feeling. You must sit there and be like a bit annoyed at that.
He hated it. He looked annoyed actually when you saw him at one point.
Yeah, on the turnaround, he looked like his race was over a bit. Just like, yeah.
Oh yeah, he'd be hating it, but I'm sure he'll be fired up to come back strong. And yeah, I don't know.
I can't find splits here off the top of my head, Croaks.
Okay.
But I've got everything else.
But yeah, London will be interesting.
Yeah, so is that where you say
London, isn't he?
Yeah. So you say, okay, now you've had enough time to come back. Is that what you're judging more on, the London performance?
Well, I don't know when he started running again after the Olympics, but like if he only started running kind of late last year and he's only a few months in, I mean, everybody's different, but for me, it would take me well over 6 months to get back to full fitness after an injury like that. So I'd say that he hasn't been running for that long.
He comes 79th. No, like this is a guy he won that race.
He's still running under 62 minutes.
Yeah,
it's not like
exactly. It's not.
Like
it's not slow running.
No, we've just got a bit like used to people running 61s and 62s lately. But 62 minutes has always been a good half marathon time for a guy.
Yeah, and look, one of the best things I ever saw Brett do was him actually line up at Melbourne last year. Like for a guy everything that he's achieved and his PBs, for him to run Melbourne when he was like in pretty poor shape and have people that would normally never, ever beat Brett, like just run past him, like, you know, hats off to him for being out there. Because I don't think I would.
Yeah, need a bit more of that from you, Crocs.
Nah, neither.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Beppu now in Japan. Ryan Gregson, he was in action there. So there's a lot of hype about Ryan Gregson running the marathon. He probably didn't have a great day by his standards. He ran 2:17.55, went through half in 66.56, and the second half was 70.59. Is it a matter of it's just too far for Gregson, you two guys? Like, national record holder for the 1500 metre, Olympic finalist, that was 2016, wasn't it, at Rio? He's 34 years old now. Feels like he's been a full-time athlete forever. He has ran some quick times over the longer distances, like 13.25 and 63 flat for the half marathon. Ran 2:14 in his debut, then he ran 2:18 at Hamburg, and then 2:13 back at Melbourne last year. Is it just too far, Croaks?
Yeah, look, I don't think he's a natural marathon runner, you know, because if you compare all of his other PBs, like, you know, his 3:31 is a standout. Like, as you start to get longer than that, like, it doesn't correlate, you know, like I think he's 3K 7:45 or something. And you look at like Cam Myers has run, you know, 7:33 and Cam hasn't run 3:31. And then like 13:25 for a guy who's run 3:31 in like this day and age is not super quick either. So, you know, I think he's definitely better at the shorter distances. That being said, I still think he can probably run faster than what he has already for the marathon, given he ran 63 for a half. But I just can't see him being a 2:8 guy.
Yeah, okay. And then the same thing. Then you got like guys like Timmy Vincent and that running like 2:9. So it's like we have this lens on now. And Ellie, you got to come back from giving birth. Like, the expectation from the Australian public is go out there and run Australian records. Like,
yeah, like we would have been saying a few years ago, 2:13 at Melbourne is bloody good.
Yeah.
And isn't it funny how it's just, our perception. Like, I actually still think his run at Melbourne Marathon last year was really good.
Yeah, I thought that was good.
And something, I don't know, like, it'd be interesting to know what happened in this race, whether something happened. I know in Hamburg he was having issues with his hamstrings during the race, and it was something, I can't remember if it had been happening in training or not. And same thing, he kind of had a really big blow up in the second half because his hammy started cramping or he strained it or something. But I think like Brad said, he can go faster. But yeah, the level you need to be at in the marathon to make a team now, like it once was 2:13, and now it's like, imagine what it's going to be for the next Olympics. It'll be 2:6.
And do you agree, Ellie, that like just because you've run like super quick over 1500, like it doesn't mean that it's going to correlate to a quick marathon? Like I think we've even spoken on the podcast that in the past you've had people run super quick half marathons that can't convert to the marathon. Yeah, and obviously a half marathon to a marathon is a lot closer than 1500 to a marathon.
Totally. And people like Sifan Hassan are kind of ruining it for the rest because they are doing it. But to me, when someone who's run that fast over 1500 is then just as good at the marathon, I always think it's a little bit suspicious. Like, they're very different events, different energy systems, like different muscle fibers, a lot of it. Like, it just, I don't know how that's possible to be, just as good at the 1500 as you are at the marathon. But then some of the East Africans are doing it, so who knows?
Yeah.
That was Japan. Indoor races, Croaks, New Balance Grand Prix. Tell us about your boy, and I'm going to push some buttons in the background here and hopefully get him on the phone.
So we'll start off with, I guess, just a couple of the other races that were at that meet. So in the women's 3,000 metres, so Jess Hull was meant to race this, but pulled out on the day. I believe she was sick, so she was a DNS. Melissa Courtney Bryant, she got the win in 8:28. Beat Elise Cranny in 8:29, and Parker Valby was third in 8:34. In the men's 1500, Josh Hoey, he ran 3:33.66. I think he was the guy that ran that super quick 1K a couple of weeks ago.
Is he the guy coached by Rinaldi?
I don't know if he's. I don't know. I just know that there was some information about. Well, he ran a 1K race at a new. I think a track had been. Oh, did you see that message that came in?
Was it a US record for 1K?
I think it was a US record, and it was maybe like the third quickest 1K ever or something. We didn't obviously talk about it on the podcast, but yeah, he got the win in the 1500. Grant Fisher was second, 3:33.99. Ollie Hall was third in 3:34.91, so not a bad season opener for Ollie. And then Stewie was ninth in 3:39.05. Did either of you watch these races?
Yeah, I turned it on today.
Yeah,
it was easy to watch, wasn't it? Just go to World Athletics and log in on the free account there. I thought.
And how good was it? They were like bang, bang, bang. They just went race after race, no break.
Like quick replays, the commentary was good. It was HD. They've clocked it. That's what it should be like. If people from our Murray Plant Meats or, Zatopek, whoever does the production on those, watch that, the timetabling, watch that one and just be like, that's how you package it. So good.
And thoughts on the men's 1500 from an Aussie point of view?
I find it
Ollie got out-kicked by Grant Fisher. So, he still had a really good run, came third, but how impressive was Grant Fisher, 5K, 10K guy out kicking all the 1500 runners?
Yeah.
That was a strong field.
I feel like that's a step in the right direction for Ollie, isn't it? Coming back, getting going. I still,
he looked pretty good actually. He looked strong.
Yeah.
He just didn't have the last lap or so.
I hate watching Stewie when he's not winning or in it to win. I'm like, oh, that's our star. Something about it just makes me, I don't know. You know what I'm talking about?
It wasn't like Stewie either. He was never, how normally he likes to go out the front. Sometimes he's slow getting off the line, but then he likes to be kind of near the front. You didn't really see much of him. He was kind of back in the pack the whole way and then just drifted.
You sort of wonder why he's going over and doing it if he's not in that tip-top shape. And I guess, if we're chatting about guys like Stewie, Brett and Ryan, I think sometimes we're I don't want this to come across as if I'm having a go at these guys, but I think sometimes we expect too much of our established athletes in terms of, I think if you look back at any professional athlete, look at their career as a whole, most of them probably only have 3 to 4 years where they're absolutely killing it at the top of their game. They might have some, pretty decent years either side of that. But then when you look at the guys that we've spoken about tonight, Brett was running World Juniors in 2010 and made a World 5K final in 2013. Now that's 12 years ago. That's a bloody long time to be, at your peak. Similar to Ryan. And you look at Stewie, basically since 2018, he's had times of 3:31 for 1500 or quicker. Now, that's coming up to 7 years, which is a long time, I think, for athletes to actually be in their prime. And if you're not in your prime in these races, you're going to get shown up. So I don't know. Sometimes I think we just expect a little bit too much. And I'm not saying any of them are done, but it's very rare for an athlete to be so good for 10 plus years. Any thoughts on that?
Nah, this is just a rust buster for Stewie. Say it ain't so, Crooks. He's been up Falls Creek doing 8x1K, threshold runs, probably longies, hill reps. He hasn't stepped on a track. He hasn't done any speed work. Judge him on his next 3 races.
All right, he'll probably come out. So I believe he's running the 3K at Milrose, so he'll probably come out and break Cam Meyer's Aussie record. But what concerns me a little bit about Stewie is Stewie's been a guy that really hasn't had any downtime since 2018, really, because you look at he's known for racing regularly on the circuit. Then he comes home, doesn't really have much of a break before he's in doing miles at Penguin in Tassie or pro races, and even this year, he was sort of running a bit injured the back end of the international season, and then he comes home, goes and runs against at the dog races, goes and does a road mile over in New Zealand, goes down and does the Tassie carnivals again. None of his competitors do that. Look at you look at Cam. Like, Cam will shut down his season, go and train for months, come out, do a few races, go back and train. And, like, Ingebrigtsen does the same sort of thing. So, does Stewie just need a bit of a break?
Don't know.
Yeah,
has he been my pay grade?
Or has he been injured? Like, is he coming back from an injury, or do we not? We don't know.
I know he had a niggle because we were going to get him on not long after. I was during the road to Chicago. Oh no, it must have been after that when Moose was away. We were going to get him on, but he said he just had a bit of a niggle, and that was maybe 2 weeks before that Greyhound handicap race.
Yeah.
But like, I just compare him to every other competitor that he races against, and they have distinct periods where they go and just train for a period of time, and you never actually see them on a start list anywhere. And I don't think Stewie's had that for quite a while.
It's so tricky as well, isn't it, with the way that our domestic season is, then into the European season, and then this year with World Champs being that bit later. Like, it's actually impossible to be, you wouldn't want to be like at your peak, really now, but it's like, it's impossible to be at that level of fitness for the whole year, or even for the first 9 months of the year, So, yeah, maybe he's just easing into things.
Yeah, I always hate having these discussions where you're talking about athletes that aren't running well, because it's like, we've had Stu on here before. Like, he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet, and it's like, here's a guy like me who, even he's like, I would be stoked to have run the time that he ran for that 1500 today. And
people aren't listening to you say this honestly. They don't want you not expressing the actual opinion.
But who might?
You also never know what's going on behind the scene, because Stewie's not someone, like, some people on social media will be like, oh, I had a cold, or I had a sniffle, or I had whatever. That's why I didn't, like, Stewie, we never really posts anything, but he also isn't on there saying, oh, I had a cold. That's why I didn't run well. So you never know, niggles, sickness, what's happening behind the scenes, unless you actually probably talk directly to him, because he's not sharing as much of it. And then, that's where it's difficult these days, because then you just think, oh, is he not fit? But I don't know.
Anyway, I guess the whole point of that was just looking at, I think all three guys, if you look back at their, have had outstanding careers, and they've actually been at a high level for a long time, when, even AFL players, most of them probably have 5 good years, in terms of where they're actually performing really well. And then either side of that, it's, okay, good to be enough to be, pulling their own weight sort of thing. But, as an athlete, I think,
you've done well to dig yourself out of a hole here, Croaks, because you just said 3 of them are done, but you've done it right.
Anyway, let's get to
Stewie, you want Stewie to do well, though, don't you? Because
you do, don't
he's
you?
such a likable guy, and it'd be really cool to see. We know how close he's been to medals at championships and stuff. It'd be awesome to see him have just a great couple of years ahead.
Yeah.
It's hard to watch when
see what he targets.
Yeah. Oh, here's another thing. I think, so the reason, so Brett's obviously been at it probably a bit longer than Stewie, but Brett had that distinct, okay, I'm a 5K runner, and then he changed focus. Whereas I feel like is it time now for Stewie to go, okay, I'm going to leave the 1500 and I'm going to purely be a 5K runner, because I still think he's got room to improve in the 5K and probably take down Mottram's Aussie record there.
Good from you.
10K too. I reckon he'd be a really good 10K runner.
Yeah. Anyway, we had the 3,000 metres. So Andrew Coscoran, former Zatopek winner, he got the win in 7:30.75. Azzedine Habz from France was second in 7:31.5. And, Cam Myers broke Craig Mottram's Aussie record of 7:34.5, which was set back in 2008 with a 7:33.12. Incredible. I know when I interviewed him after Zatopek, we ran 7:40 something. He was fairly confident that in a faster race he would go, into the 7:30s, but I think that probably surprised him based on the interview I saw with Let's Run.
I got him here too, Croaks. I've been clicking buttons in the background, putting him on hold. I thought that chat would have gone for 30 seconds, and I just kept just give it 3, give it 4. Croaks are still banging on about if Stewie should retire. Give it 5 minutes. And here he is, Croaks, I think. All right, guys, I think I've got him on the line now. He's the newest Australian record holder after he ran an Australian record for the indoor 3,000 metres. He recently ran, or just a few hours ago, 7:33.12 at the New Balance Grand Prix. Cam Myers, welcome to the Inside Running Podcast.
Thanks for having me, guys. Much appreciated.
Well, you just raced a couple of hours ago over in Boston. What's the time there now? And congratulations on that national record.
Thank you. It's 10:15 now, so I guess I'll be going to bed pretty shortly. But super happy.
That's good, because your recent interviews after races, Cam, you haven't been that happy when I've thought maybe you should be happy, but it was good to see. I did see the Let's Run interview, and this one, a big smile on your face, and we're happy with your moves out there.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. I think more just because of the progress I've made, especially in like just my aerobic strength over the past sort of couple years, but even as far back as like the last 3 years. So I think that was probably what makes it me so proud, I guess.
Cam, when we did the long form interview and you just come off that Zatopek race, the 3K there, I said, what do you think you could run like with a stronger field? And you basically said hopefully like mid 7:30s, but you've even gone faster than that. And I watched that interview on Let's Run, and for me it was like the first run as a pro where you've actually been satisfied and almost surprised yourself. So what does that do for your confidence moving forward?
I'm super confident, I guess. I sort of raced most of my races pretty confident, but it's good going into a race like Millrose, which is as important as it is. I think racing with confidence in a field where I could potentially be the slowest guy in the race. We haven't seen startless or anything yet, but like I could legitimately be the slowest guy. So having that confidence under my belt and having a result like that is pretty important going into a race like that.
And whose scout were you most happy to take tonight?
I probably wouldn't tell him, but Habz. I'm pretty good mates with him, but it's always nice to beat him.
He was in trouble that last 100 meters.
Yeah. It was pretty hot from the gun. So I
and he finished fifth, didn't he, at the Olympics in the 1500?
Yeah, I cut him some slack though because he's also run 1:43. I think he goes sort of further the 8:15 way than the 15:5, but yeah.
And do you get any feedback? Like, did you know you were running that fast?
Throughout the race, I kind of, because they'd said that the pace was going to be 60s for the first 2 laps, and then it was going to sort of slow down to 60.5. And so I was a bit hesitant because obviously, like Zatopek was fast, I guess, but it was still 62s. So I went through the mile there at like 4:09. And so to think that I was going to have to go through it like 4:03 or 4:04, it's pretty daunting. So I looked at the clock every lap, and I think even like 200 and 400 meters in, I was like, this is not comfortable at all. So I was just happy to hold on, really.
What was the track like, Cam? The New Balance track?
It's pretty good. It's slightly different to the Armory because it's got it's the same banking as BU, but it's just like a different surface that they put underneath the track. So you don't quite get the bounce that you get at BU, but it's like banked the same. So it feels quite nice. You can keep your rhythm going pretty well.
And I guess before we move on to the Want to Make a Mile and Millrose, like what's the vibe like at this meet in terms of like give us an understanding of what happens at these meets. Like, do they put on like an after party where everyone goes out for dinner? Do you do your own thing? Are you getting swamped by the fans over there like you are back here?
I mean, some meets to have after parties, but I don't think this one, not really. So I think it's just maybe the timing of the event and indoors itself. But as far as like fan support and stuff go, it's not too different. Like, I know for instance in Millrose, that gets like 5 grand people there and they fill out the stadium and there's nowhere to move pretty much. Some of these lower key meets, like, I mean, this was still pretty packed. I mean, there was no seats really. I think it's sold out even, and it's pretty crazy. Like in a facility where everyone has to catch the elevator to get up, it's pretty nuts.
But you're well known over there. Like a lot of the youngsters are coming up to you.
Yeah, reasonably well. I think having run so fast young, the American high schoolers sort of look up to me, I guess. And yeah, there's a lot of those going around. So I'm pretty well known in America, but obviously not like the support that they show to the American guys.
Cam, did you do any work on an indoor track between, like, last week? I think that race was the first time you'd ever run on an indoor track. Did you do any workouts between that and this one?
I did my pre-meet yesterday on it. Well, yeah, yesterday, and that was just like I did 100, a couple 200s, and another 100. But aside from that, no, not really. Obviously I was down in Florida before or between the races and before, so there's actually not even one there, I don't think, because it's just so warm. It was like 25 degrees between the races. It was awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of our listeners are like rec runners, and myself and Croaks and maybe Ellie as well will probably never run on an indoor track. Like, what does it feel like? Do you have to concentrate and like lean into it a bit and like a bit unbalanced?
Yeah.
Like, give us a bit of a summary.
Well, I'm like still pretty unfamiliar with it, but it definitely the faster you go, the more comfortable you feel. Yeah, which is it's weird, but it's just like I think having that bank, it really does help you at those faster speeds. Today actually I was starting in the second stagger, so like in the outside lanes, and it's actually quite a lot more sloped in the higher lanes. So that was quite weird. I had to concentrate a lot just to make sure I wasn't gonna fall over. So yeah, it is a bit of a weird feeling.
And breaking Craig Mottram's record, which he set back in 2008, was that on your radar? Like, were you thinking about it?
Yeah, I'd kind of had a look at it, so I knew what it was. It wasn't something that I was thinking like. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about it too much. I knew that I'd run under 740. I was pretty confident I would. So it was just like, how far can I get? And I knew that the race was being paced at sort of 7:30-ish pace. So my plan was really just to hold on as long as I can, and whatever happened. I would have been happy with 7:35, 7:36, and not getting the record, because to me it's just that progress that I've had over the last 3 years in in the 3K event that sort of makes me pretty satisfied with this one.
And what do you put that, I guess, progress down to? Is it increased mileage? Is it doing those double sort of threshold sessions on the Thursday, or like a combination of things?
I think, yeah, all of those things are important, but I think the number one thing is just the consistency that I've had, because I haven't really had to miss anything in the past 3 years. I think like I had my first week off after Peru this year because I was just a bit exhausted, and that was the only time that I've really taken any time off. So I think just that consistency over a very long period is what's been so key for me.
And how are you going to work this year? Like, you're obviously doing a bit of an indoor season now, and then I'm assuming World Champs is on the radar for September. So how do you structure your year with that, just to make sure that you can peak again second half of the year?
Yeah, so I think the way to do it is if I can sort of race as minimally as possible in Australia, because you don't want to get too sharp, but I want to be sharp enough so I can still run well. So I decided I would do this 3K instead of the one in Sydney, and then between back and Maury Plant, I'll be at altitude for the majority of that part, and then straight after nationals as well, I'll go back up to altitude, and then when I'm over in Europe, I'll sort of look to have 5 to 6, even longer weeks of just up at altitude, where I don't need to worry about racing. And I think having those big blocks midway through the season should keep me in pretty good aerobic shape, and then from there I can just sharpen up, with races as well as training sessions. So yeah.
No doubt the Aussie indoor mile record is on your mind. It's like what Ollie Hawes 350.8, I think it is. And given you beat Adam Fogg last week after doing all the work, and he's gone sub 350, that's obviously something that's you're looking at next weekend.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually quite funny. I said to Ollie today, I said that I'm going to break your record. But the thing is, he's going to break my record in the 3K. I don't think my 3K will last next weekend, because, Kai Ollie and Stewie are both running in the 3K. I could see myself being fourth on the ranking list after next weekend. All
Go
three of
from
them
first to
probably ready
fourth
to
in a
go.
week.
What did
I don't know about that. I don't reckon.
what did
Oh,
what was Ollie's response when you said that to him?
I think he'd been thinking the same thing. Pretty like-minded.
Well, it makes
Do you
sense.
get-
Even Adam's ran 3:49 indoors after you've beaten him. But not only did you beat him, you did all the work in that race as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think he also sort of benefited from having that race stimulus. So, yeah, it goes to show you how a race can help you and improve your fitness as well in that aspect. So, yeah.
Do you get to rub shoulders with those guys much over there, like the other Australians? Jess Hull was there as well, but pulled out with sickness. Like, are there
Yeah.
opportunities for did the Aussies stick together there? Or it's very much like do your own thing.
Yeah, yes and no. I think yeah, it's like meal times is probably the biggest chance you get to sort of see those guys, and if they're there at the same time with them as me, I'll go and sit on a table with them. But other than that, not really, because we're sort of just on slightly different schedules. But no, I've seen Stewie and stuff, and then an Ollie around the place, and yeah, we're all friendly.
Who protects you and looks after you though, Cam? Like you're 18, other side of the world, Australian
Yeah,
record
yeah,
holder, world record holder. Like who looks after you over there? James Templeton
yeah,
travels with you?
yeah. So JT's over here. He comes to most meets. I think like most of the meets his athletes are at, he's there, and I think most managers are like that. And especially the companies, they will probably have someone out there. So yeah, JT's always around, so that's good if I have any problems. And I can go down and get a coffee or something with him as well. So that's always helpful.
And talk us through your setup in Florida. Why Florida? Who are you living with?
Yeah. The only really reason was because Gout was on a training camp there, with Noah and stuff. And so that group was there. And it was also just going to be far, far warmer. So, I mean, it was like negative 11 degrees this morning here in Boston. So, Florida being 25 degrees, it's just far more appealing.
So you just been down on the track with Gout, Noah Lyles, just as you do as an 18-year-old?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that they can comprehend that you have to do so many laps as a distance runner. Like they're doing like a couple 150s and that's their session. And I'm just there running a lot of laps. It's probably like they've never even seen it before.
You're a big student of the sport, I think, and like the significance of breaking a Craig Mottram record. Like maybe you're too young to know like how big of a deal Craig Mottram was back in the day because you probably weren't even alive. But does that hit differently? And then the second part of the question, like all these, like not just you, some of these like young times coming out at the moment. We saw the
Yeah.
NCAA record go down. This kid over Sam Roth over in New Zealand's running quick. Like you pay attention to all this stuff.
Yeah, I'm definitely pretty across it, but I think the thing about Craig's record is it's almost kind of sad to erase it from the record books because like the athlete that Craig was, yeah, you almost don't want to see a record like his go because he was just so dominant in his era, and it's like I'm getting towed to a 7:33 and I guess I'm coming third in the race, but Craig was like he was dominating races and actually winning, and like I mean, you go back and you can watch races and him handing it to Beppu-Oita. So it's like, it's just the way that the times are now, and they're so relative. So yeah, I feel like it's tough. The only thing that really matters is like the silverware you get, right? So yeah.
Yeah, but you give that away, don't you?
He's got all the
Yeah.
right answers, Croaks. Have you been getting in his ear on all these training sessions?
No,
Well spoken.
I can't breathe when I'm running with him.
Who's going to break Craig's 12:55 5K? Will that be you in a couple of years or?
Oh, I hope so. But I think Stewie or someone will get it before me. I think Ollie. I remember Ollie saying, I think it was London Diamond League last year. He said he was going to have a crack at Craig's record at sometime in the future, and I think he'd probably get it. To be fair, but it's sort of at the point now where it's like everyone is running so fast that yeah, I think that it could be Kai, it could be Morgan, it could be Stewie. Any of those guys could have a crack and get it.
And Cam, how have you been spending your day? So outside of training, what have you been doing in Florida?
Oh, pretty much nothing. I watch Netflix, and that's pretty much it. Because I wander down. I'll go to the cafe and stuff. But like between that, not really much. Because Clermont's a pretty quiet area. It's sort of where they base, and it's a really weird town. Like it's almost deserted. There's no one there. So not a lot. I just watch Netflix, chill out, and I'm just counting down the days until I can race again. Really.
And what's on the top of your Netflix list?
I've been watching this show called Dexter. Yeah. It just sort of came up on my recommended, and I thought, well, I'd give it a try.
Are you building into the do you know Len Johnson, the journalist, Cam? Probably the top running journalist in Australia, writes for Runner's Time, used to write for The Age. He wrote an article about how you're channeling Herb Elliott at the moment on the weekend.
Oh,
not sure,
the
not
Runner's
sure where
Tribe.
he got that. Yeah. Not sure where he got that idea from. Someone may have mentioned it on last week's show, but you build into that kind of hype.
Listen to that. Sorry?
You build into that kind of hype, like you take it on.
Not
just
really.
like water off a duck's back.
It's almost like Herb Elliott was like the generation before that I can't really like. I can't really resonate much with it because I've heard the stories and Dick speaks so highly of Herb Elliott, but it's hard to comprehend that he went through a career without losing. Like that's just. Yeah, it's unbelievable to me. It's hard to comprehend.
Any more questions, boys and girls, before we let him go to bed? It's a late night over there in Boston. Croaks, you got one for him?
I've just got one more in terms of I can't remember who I interviewed, but it was somebody like one of our established stars who basically struggled like first year sort of out on the circuit, especially traveling overseas, because it's one thing to run fast in Australia where travel's minimal, you're not away from home, but then they went overseas and didn't quite run
Jeff
as
Risley,
well.
I reckon. Talk to Jeff and Luke about that. They often speak about that.
Whereas okay, you're on the circuit a little bit last year, but you really haven't had poor performances overseas. Like why is that for you?
Oh, I don't know. I don't find the travel too difficult. Also, I think 2023, JT sent me over there for 5 weeks, and it was kind of just like sort of get my bearings a little bit, get used to the travel, and sort of have that exposure before going into sort of 2024, which would obviously be the Olympic year. So having that exposure to it before it really mattered also helped to take some pressure off. But yeah, I don't really get knocked around by the travel too much, because if I don't sleep, I'll just end up sleeping during the day. So I don't really find that as an issue.
Don't miss home?
Not really. Here and there I do, but I'll call my parents. I'll text my parents if I miss them. Other than that, I find it I don't mind being on my by myself and spending time by myself. So it's fine. It's fine, really.
Probably why you're a good distance runner.
You have to spend a lot of time by yourself.
Yeah, that's a good skill to have, because probably the next 10, 15 years you're going to be doing some big trips, I'd say.
Yeah, for sure.
Good.
Any more questions, Ali, before we let him go?
Nah, just congrats, Cam. That was awesome. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Fun watching you.
Yeah.
Cam, I've just got one. Oh, can I just get this last one in,
yeah.
Croaks?
Yeah.
Because this is one I sent to Croaks, but he didn't ask it when he did the long form interview with you, Cam. He gets a bit protective about what questions he asks. Doesn't like me throwing my ones in there. But I had a question about, you did comment in that long form interview about how you picked up like a shitload more followers. One morning you just woke up. We saw Ollie Hoare and Sinead Diver both talk about like the impact of social media at the Paris Olympics. Like, do you have someone, I can't imagine what your DMs are like. Like, do you have someone helping you, kind of like protecting you on that front? So just, Gary from Toowoomba can't just send you a message about what his opinions are with your distance running at the moment?
Not really. I mean, I kind of read most of my DMs, and if I get one that's negative, most of the time they have some kind of like truth in it, or they're just like an opinion that just doesn't matter to me at all. And so if I get someone that's, making some criticism, often I'll read it and I'll just be like, well, fair enough. It's not a lie. Like if someone's telling me I've had a bad race or a bad kick, it's like, well, yeah, it's quite obvious. So I don't really buy into it too much. It's like, yeah. It's
You
not
got some good
something that.
jokes on there as well. You sent us a very good joke today, which I can't repeat on air, but it
Oh
was,
yeah,
it was very
no,
good.
yeah,
So
yeah. I
you've
make a
got
lot
some good work
of.
on there, Croaks.
I can't
Good
believe that you're
banter.
18. I can't believe you're 18 with that maturity of just like taking all the negative feedback and just like water off a duck's back. Yeah, whatever. Okay, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
awesome.
mean, sometimes it's like you literally know what they're talking about, anyways. It's like, yeah, I mean, I think Ollie and like Sinead were in a completely different situation, and it's so hard for me to compare to something like that because obviously they were getting attacked personally, which I don't think should ever happen in the sport. But yeah, I think for me, getting attacked about a performance is completely fine within the sport, and you should be getting attacked on your performances. It's like you're paid as a professional runner, and you're held to the highest standards. But yeah, getting attacked personally is definitely off limits.
Do you ever sort of fight back and like have a bit of a go at them saying, yeah, what are your PBs or what have you done?
Fire back.
Yeah. I'm a bit chirpy when it comes down to it, which is probably a blessing and a curse. But I try not to be too rude or too direct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Cam, thanks for giving up some time. Probably one of the biggest names in global distance or middle distance running at the moment. And we really appreciate you chatting to us on the Inside Run podcast. Good luck for next weekend.
Much
Hopefully we get another
appreciated. Thanks for
Australian
having
record
me.
next to your name. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
See ya.
Stop.
Cheers, Croaks. You've taught him well. What high school did he go to? I'm going to enroll my kids there or send my kids up to his parents. How can he be that well spoken at 18?
I know. It's mind blowing, isn't it?
It is mind blowing. That's the first time I've actually got to speak to him, so I'm buzzing after that.
I love that he doesn't still does his own social media and he doesn't care if people have a go at him because he often agrees with them anyway. It's just like so much maturity for an 18-year-old.
Oh, the fact that he I didn't even reach out to him today either. He sent us like this funny joke, and then I was like, "Hey, you want to come on the show?" I was like, "Yeah, for sure, I'm coming on." Like, you just like to have that. Yeah, I wish I could tell you what the joke was because I know you two would get a good laugh. Oh, Croaks has seen it. He's in the same inbox. I'll tell you off air, Ellie. Like,
Send it to me later.
for the sense of humour of that guy to be that joking at 18, and then to be like so approachable that he's pretty much one of the biggest names in athletics worldwide, and he's just given up time for us on a Monday. I love him so much.
You
Got the
don't feel
biggest
like
crush
you're
on him.
speaking with an 18-year-old, do you?
Would it be weird if I put a picture of him in my bedroom, Croaks? Do you reckon Carly would enjoy that? Big frame picture of Cam Myers?
Oh, I don't know,
I wouldn't
Brady.
put it past you.
Yeah, I'm dead
Or
serious.
Brad, actually. Brad seems like a fair old
No,
man.
I'm now on Team Cam as well. We're going to have to fight over him, Ellie. He's going to be the biggest fanboy. Anyway, Croaks, finish off this recap of these indoor races.
Yeah, so just for some context, so George Mills, he ran a 7:27.92 at an indoor meet in France, and that broke Josh Kerr's British record, and he won by over 10 seconds. So that's a phenomenal run there. So I just thought I'd mention that. We also had the BU John Thomas Terrier Classic. So the women's 3,000 metres was won by Nikki Hiltz in 8:32. Lyndon Hall was second, 8:35.17. So that moves her to number 2 all time on the Aussie list and only 2 seconds off the world championship time. Amy Bunnage, remember the one to watch this year, Brady? 8:43.82, which is number 4 on the Aussie list and number 6 on the NCAA list. We also had a couple of Aussies in the 5K. Lauren Ryan ran 15:08, which I think is an indoor PB for her, and Jackson Sharp ran 13:29.
Good recap, Croaks. Well done.
Can I just say one more thing about Cam? This is something I saw on Facebook today. He was only 1 and a bit seconds off Gebra Hewatt's 3,000 metre, must be the under 20 record, world record.
I think he's 4th all time on that list now.
Yeah, so that's like being that close to a name like that's pretty crazy. 7:32.87 he's run.
Yeah, and like what?
Virginia.
And what is he, like 5 seconds off the outdoor Aussie record, which, like
Yeah.
was it 7:28 or something? Incredible.
Here's a question for you, Croaks. It doesn't seem to have the top end speed. Is that going to be his kryptonite? Can he do those big last 50 metres that we see from Cole Hocker, Goose, Kerr? Ingebrigtsen's kind of been undone by that a bit too.
Yeah, like I do see him a little bit more in that Ingebrigtsen where it's like so many times it doesn't look like Jakob actually like kicks down. It's like, why are these guys falling off? Because there's no real kick there, where he just winds it up. And I feel like Cam sort of does the same thing. Like we saw that at Zatopek, where it's like it didn't look like he sort of brought the arms in and started like sprinting. It was just that everybody else started falling off, but he had ratcheted down the pace a fair bit. Yeah, like potentially, but he's so young. Like who knows what he's going to do over the next couple of years.
Yeah, he's so young. I think it'll be really cool if he ever steps up to the 5K too, to see what he can do.
Yeah, another thing I love about him is for an 18-year-old, he's so mature with the way that he trains. Like he does not get caught up in what other people are doing. Like I remember the first time I ever ran past him, and this was like when he was probably running like 3:48 as a 14-year-old, like just before he had his major breakthrough. And I was running up a bike path near Mulligan's Flat, doing my standard, just easy sort of, recovery run at 4:15s or something, and just went past him. He was absolutely like shuffling. That was the first time I ever saw Cam, and like he's still very, like not doesn't run that slow anymore, but just very
He was a kid.
but he's just very smart with what he does. No, but he's still running like 3:48 at the time, but jogging super slow.
Will you hear in that chat how he explains the different purposes of his like racing and how he's building his season and stuff? I reckon some of our elite athletes, like, I don't know, they're just training and just do whatever races come up.
Yeah, and that's sort of what I was getting at with, like, Stewie versus the likes of Cam, likes of Ingebrigtsen. Like, they have these real set periods of, okay, I'm going to just bunker down, go to altitude for, like, 6 to 8 weeks. Whereas, seeing Stewie on start list pretty much, I don't know, 5 times since the end of last season.
We got to get you into that house in Florida. You, Gout, Noah Lyles, Cam. How good would that be?
Oh, yeah.
Get some content for us in that house, Croaks.
Yeah.
Anyway,
let's move on to more results.
Yeah, we're just going to keep referring to this Cam Myers interview for the next, 6 years. I can just feel it. Ellie got some results from the Razorback Invitational.
The Razorback Invitational. Shelbo's back. So Shelby Houlihan ran 8:31 in the women's 3K, won by over 30 seconds. Any comments?
Do you like this, Ellie?
She's served her ban, so she's allowed to be back racing.
Is that the diplomatic answer?
Yeah. I mean, she's like that. It was obviously a much lower key meet than some of the other ones we've seen, so I imagine she's having a bit of trouble getting into races, which will be really interesting to see how that plays out now after she's run that time, whether they do start letting her in or whether, interesting.
Do you know who's coaching her, or has she had to change agents or anything? Do you know any of that stuff?
I'm not sure. Well, she's not part of Bowerman anymore, and I'm pretty sure she's lost her Nike contract. So I'm not sure if she's self-coaching or if she's got a coach or, I haven't followed, and I'm not going to be watching the Flow Track documentary about it.
The doco.
No,
I won't. Boycott.
No, I won't. No, I don't. Yeah, I love good sports documentary, but I feel like I think that was a really bad move by them, and I can see what they were trying to do. They thought, oh, this will be great, this will get heaps of views, but it's not a good way to be supporting the sport, I don't think. But I mean, she's allowed to be back racing. She's served her 4 years, which seemed to go really quickly. So that's all I think about it.
Anyone add, Brady? Or
I just thought it was kind of funny that she won by 30 seconds, because I was just thinking outside of running, you could rephrase this news article: person who served banned for cheating wins race by 30 seconds. It's just of course she won. She was doping all those years ago. Well, I guess so. Until you look into it deeper.
Yeah. Should we even be talking about this race that she did? Or not?
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up how many views the documentary's had. It's a trailer. Feb 3rd. Oh, is it still not out yet? No, it's Feb 3rd US.
Feb 3rd, that's today, isn't it?
Yeah, but they're a
It'll be
day
coming
behind.
out. Yeah, it'll be, yeah.
The trailer only had 2,500 views though. That's not good.
Yeah.
Anyway, wait and see.
We had
there.
an Aussie.
There's past dopers in so many races. We see it in marathons all the time as well. It just, yeah, I don't know.
World Marathon
Hard to
majors don't
celebrate.
let them though.
No.
If you've served a band, you don't go to a major, which I love. Complicated
We had-
shit. People can have their opinions.
Had an Aussie in the mile, Ellie.
Yeah, so Thomas Palfrey, he ran 3:54.
Yeah.
He's at college, isn't he?
Yeah, he's at the University of Oregon, and I thought I'd add that one because he was like a standout junior here in Canberra and was actually like Cam Meyer's training partner. They had the same coach, and Tom was probably somebody that Cam actually like looked up to because he was, I think he was running like sub 340, like pretty young, and then he's sort of been a bit up and down the last few years, but he's obviously heading in the right direction now.
Yeah, how old is he now?
He'd be, I think he's like second or third year college, so probably like 20, 21 maybe.
Yeah, 3:54 is still a really good time for a 21-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the last bit of news in New Zealand.
15-year-old Sam, how do we pronounce this?
Ruth, I think.
Sam Ruth
Don't know though. Could
Won
be completely
the-
wrong.
won the new. I don't know if I trust your pronunciations, Brady.
I said with confidence though, didn't I?
Won the New Zealand 3,000 metre champs in 7:56. Whew, 15.
DMs lit up too. People are real quick to send this one to Croaks after his hatred for Sam last week on the show.
I've got no hatred towards Sam at all. Like,
I looked it up though. I watched it. Izzi was good.
yeah, I watched it too.
Ollie Chengle tried to put the move on with like 800, 900 metres to go. It really hurt him. And then Sam just covered the moves and smashed him in the last like 150, 200 metres.
Oh,
He's
so he took
strong.
some scalps too.
Yeah. But this is where Croaks will say, hang on, we've just spoken about Cam Myers running 7:33 while we're getting excited about a 7:56. He'll say it's a good time for a junior, but it's not world class.
It's true, but he's only 15. And
Well,
then,
what did Cam run when he was 15?
yeah, so I guess if you listen to Cam's like long form interviews, like he really didn't start training properly till he was probably 15. He was doing soccer and that sort of then coincided with COVID. And so he pretty much stopped playing soccer and then started to run a bit more. So it's a hard comparison, but I think that sort of next year, like the 16, 17, if he starts running the times of Jakob and Cam's times for the mile and 1,500, then I guess people will probably, well, people are obviously taking notice now. But
I liked his racing craft though, Croaks.
yeah.
He knows how to win a race. He was tactically very good out there.
His dad paced for the first K too.
I love that too. Father-son
Really?
moments.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How cool would that be for his dad?
So cool.
Being
So his
part of
dad
that.
ran, was it 2:12 for a marathon, and his mum ran 2 flat for an 800.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, good genes.
Good genes are right.
Here we go. Cam, when would he have been 15? 2022 or 2023?
3 years ago, go 22.
8:05.
Oh. Croaks,
Then
what do you
he's
think
gone
about that?
7:52 the next year, 7:41, and then 7:33 this year.
All right, good researching from you. Only other bit of note news was Athletics Australia rebranded. So they are now called Australian Athletics, and they changed their logo. Any comments there, Croaks? Big news in the Athletics Australia world.
Yeah, I don't like, this is not AA bashing, but I don't get rebranding as a thing. Like I know like the AIS did it and I thought it was one of the worst things because I don't know if when you were growing up, like there was that like iconic AIS symbol with like the almost like people's arms above their head. Do you remember the old AIS symbol?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah.
And then maybe it's probably 10 years ago now that they changed the logo, and I'm like, people get really up and about it as if it's going to make massive changes to things, but I don't understand it. Like even just reversing Athletics Australia to Australian Athletics. I don't know what that does for the sport.
Yeah. That's the weirdest part about it. Like, I get that you need to update your logos every now and then, but the Australian Athletics doesn't. I don't know. Like, I actually think Athletics Australia was a good name.
Yeah, but what I also don't get is when they release this thing, they make it as if it's going to like dramatically change the sport. It's going to, move the sport forward.
Their caption was Athletics Redefined.
I just don't know how it changes the sport in any way.
Heaps good runners. There's some great comments here. If you want to laugh, go to the Instagram page. Here's a reply to it saying it's going to take a while for me to get used to calling you AA. Jason sums it up well. He is a Patreon supporter as well, Jason, I reckon. Looks great, but hopefully this isn't just because cosmetic. Our sport needs an overhaul. It needs to learn that it's a mess with it's mass participation sports that engages very poorly with 99% of its participants. Yeah, there's some good stuff.
Like, to be fair, I suppose, like, if you look at
imagine how much it cost. These things aren't cheap.
Like, one thing, and I don't know whether AA have anything to do with this, but our track and field team is going as good as it's ever gone. Like, in the I suppose the modern era. So whether it's their doing or there's other factors, that's obviously a good thing.
It is. Got to capitalise on it.
Yeah, and they're pumping money into athletics because of Brisbane 2032. Like, all that government funding that's going into the Olympic sports, like, they're going to be putting some money into it over the next, what have we got, 7 years. So, yeah. So hopefully, that's not where it's all going, but yeah.
But if that is a marketing budget, I would have just preferred to see like documentaries on some of our best athletes, and that's your marketing. Tell the stories of the runners and the jumpers and the throwers. Anyway, I'm not there. I'm on a podcast on Monday. These results are brought to you by Axel Coffee. Don't forget, we have different code exclusively for Inside Running podcast listeners. Get 20% off your first order online using the code IRP20 at checkout.
Is that big onto your head, Brady? A different code, not a discount code?
Oh, sorry, Chris. I've got screens going here. I've got people messaging me trying to...
No, you're doing good, mate.
Yeah.
I know Cam Miles.
Cam rattled me. I'm still on a high from that, Grex. A discount code from our friends at Axel Coffee, IRP20. Whispers, Ed Goddard from Asics to Saucony. This was big. And I got this whisper 3 weeks ago and I didn't go with it, Croaks. From a very reliable source, and I said, there's no way Ed Goddard's moving from Asics. He's like on billboards up there in Sydney. He's the poster boy. I think he was designing shoes over in Japan recently. Like, he was in Japan a couple of weeks ago. Like, he's one of the
He seems like he really loved Asics.
I know, and it seems like they really loved him. So when the whisper come across my desk, I just said, nah, I'm not going with that. You're stitching me up here. And then it got announced over the weekend that he's left at. Well, you never know in these situations, do you? If they leave or I guess there's a couple of situations where the contract offer may have been too low and he went somewhere else, or Saucony come in and went higher.
You interviewed Ed though, didn't you?
I think it was on Road to Gold Coast with me a couple of years ago, 2022.
I thought, did you do a long form interview with him though?
Yeah, probably. I've done a lot of long-form interviews over my time, Croaks. Can't remember all of them.
Because I thought I heard him say that he was in the process of wanting to get a bit of an elite group together in Sydney and was potentially going to get like a brand to back it. And because if you look at somebody like Josh Phillips, I think Josh Phillips is sponsored by Saucony as well. So I'm not sure if this was part of what he was talking about there.
Yeah, interviewed him on episode 286, him and Andy Buchanan.
Yeah, so I'm not sure, because I know he was talking about, trying to get a bit of a group happening up there.
Also reckon that might have been what's happened there. The other news as well was Lisa Waitman from Asics again to Li Ning, which is a Chinese brand. She will be the first Australian-based athlete sponsored by the company. This one also shocked me. She'd been with Asics for a long time. Do
you know anything about this brand, Ellie?
No, I'd actually never heard of them. I've heard of a couple of the other new Chinese brands, but I hadn't heard of Li Ning.
I went to their website today. They've got a lot of shoes there.
A lot of running shoes.
Wow, there's a lot of shoes. I'm not sure which ones are like running performance and which one, but there's a lot of shoes when you click on the collections when you go to running. So a lot of options. I
was wondering if this was in the pipeline. You know how Lisa did a few Chinese races.
Good from you. Yep.
She did Beijing Marathon and what was the other? She did another one, didn't she, in China?
Yep.
Yeah,
Not sure
she
what
did.
the other one was, but yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that was all like in the pipelines then, or I'm not sure. That's just
that makes more sense as to why she was
speculation.
doing all of those Chinese marathons so quickly back to back.
Maybe she got approached while she was over there because she was still running ASICS kids.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe someone's like, hey, let's get this lady on our books. We'll probably never know these things because contracts are very quiet in the running world. No one really discloses much at all, do they? Which I feel like could potentially be.
I think it's confidential, maybe, which is really annoying. But I've got a feeling you're not allowed to say. I feel like there's something.
You know who knows everyone's contract? I won't say his name actually, but I've got a man who he helps me out when I need to know who's getting paid.
I know.
He's very good at this kind of stuff.
Does he know? No.
I reckon he knows. I reckon he gets the athlete sometimes to sign the dotted line. He's one of those big players. Anyway, my other whisper I also can't say, but let's put it here. This will be the biggest thing that will ever happen in a radio edit if this whisper's correct. And it's coming from a very reliable source, someone who's represented this country on numerous occasions. This person would know. You can see it written there, guys. Do you agree?
I don't know.
I can't see it.
It's in. I've got a bold. I've underlined it. I'm putting question marks next to it now. I've highlighted it.
It's good, but I don't know. We had an Olympic Games here with radio edit. Olympic radio.
Can you see it now, Ali? I've just put it in text size 35.
Oh yeah. I can see.
Folks, no, we're gonna have to cut that out.
Isn't this the whole idea of the whispers? What?
Nah, you got to create a bit of intrigue.
Can you please rename it then? Because Ed Goddard going from ASICS to Saucony isn't a whisper when it's been announced on his actual own social media. Same with Lisa. They're not whispers. They're just
confirmed.
They should be running. It should be in running news.
Sometimes I call it talking points. Brady's talking points. The juicy stuff we keep to this section of the show.
Whereas that is a whisper.
That's a big whisper. Anyway, we're moving on. Anyone got anything to go on the loose about?
Oh, no, not really.
I just had a talking point which I've already talked about how does the hype actually disappear a bit when we see so many national records? Like, I always feel like I was excited about Izzy's national record yesterday, but then by the time Cam broke his, I was like, oh, well, Izzy's moved to second tier because Cam's just fresher.
It's a different.
I think it depends on the record.
I think it's a different era. And you need to accept that there's factors that are just going to make people run faster now than what they have in the past. And, one thing I liked about Cam's interview was he didn't come out and say it, but the fact that he was in a way disappointed, well, not disappointed that he broke Mottram's record, but he realises how good Mottram was. And I don't think Cam sees himself on the same level as what Mottram has done, even though he's breaking his records, which means that, okay, does that mean if Mottram was basically in the same pair of shoes as Cam on that track, Cam only beat his time by a second, is Mottram at the moment still a better athlete than what Cam is? And you'd probably say yes, and I think Cam would probably agree with that, but Cam now has the record, so it's very hard to compare eras, and that's why so many of these records are now getting broken.
Right.
Yeah, I think you've still got to celebrate big ones like that, though. It was Craig Mottram's record that he broke. That's a huge deal. Even, I know sometimes the indoor records are a bit less, we probably get a bit less excited about them, but that was a really good one. I mean, Izzy breaking, I think the half marathon, I know it's not the marathon, but it's still a big event that he's run really regularly. Karen McCann's record, and she ran so fast. It wasn't like it was a week record. So I actually think, I think they still should be celebrated. The fastest that someone's ever run. And obviously there is progress that's going to happen over the years, you know, which has been happening since the beginning of running. Like that's going to always be the case. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it was more like the attention of it. You want it to stay new news. But anyway, move on.
Yeah, well, you want, like, it's attention on our sport. It's good. I saw, like, some mainstream media articles today about
that's good.
Both Cam and Izzy's records. So, like, that's, yeah. Hype is good for our sport.
Yeah, it is.
We need it.
All right, let's move on to Training Talk. So this episode's Training Talk segment is proudly brought to you by Precision Fuel and Hydration. Take your nutrition to the next level. Check out the link in the show notes for their free online planner to nail your fueling and hydration strategy, or even book a one-on-one consultation. Visit precisionhydration.com. Now, the question that I'm going to pose to you is, do you feel recovery weeks are generally underutilized amongst distance runners? For example, groups like MTC appear to do similar training week in, week out. They'll often do a Tuesday session even after a Sunday race, whereas a lot of sports science textbooks, through the principles of progressive overload and adaptation, will suggest 3 to 4 solid weeks of training followed by a recovery or adaptation week. So that is sort of the talking point tonight.
Did you make this up yourself?
I did.
Okay. When there was no name there, I'm like, this sounds like Bradley Kroger's written this.
Well, I've been thinking...
You come out with the MTC bashing tonight, haven't you?
Well, no, like it was just like, well, okay, I'll use you then as an example. Like you string together like multiple weeks of 180 to 200K a week, and you look back at it and it gives you actually confidence that, hey, I've strung together all of this training. But it goes against the, hey, I'm going to have 3 weeks of pretty solid training and then I'm going to have a deload week. So I'll replace MTC with you. And
don't put me in the same category as MTC. They're all global runners, Croaks. I'm a school teacher from Moama.
Yeah. I just was interested because I think we personally
I think it's
do.
smart.
I think we do underutilise it.
One thing you'll never see me doing or setting is a workout on a Tuesday after a Sunday race. I like having like a half week to absorb for my athletes and myself. I just think it's like too risky.
But I still feel like that's that's still different to
I know it is.
To a down week because
because a taper week and a recovery week aren't just an adaptation week. They're around a race. You're recovering for the race.
It's more about when you're not having, you don't have a race coming up, but you still just schedule a week of just easy jogging or a couple of very, very light sessions and maybe drop your mileage by 30, 40%.
Yep. I think we get greedy and you chase confidence, like as you said in the question. Like I've done it for years. I remember doing it, I did it once, it was Valencia 2022. I did Burnley Half Marathon, ran 65 there, and then I had like 13 weeks until Valencia, so I just had a week of just like jogging. And I'm like, but then I just pretty much had 12 weeks high until I tapered, whereas I probably should have, then penciled in another one kind of thing. Someone I was listening to the other day, was it a UK guy or Morgan McDonald or someone like that? They were kind of talking about it. Yeah. Jules
is really big on the down weeks, and it's not necessarily. We pretty rarely do a week of just jogging. Like we occasionally do a really light week, but I would say it's mostly just a drop in mileage. And every probably 1 in 4 weeks, just bring it back down again and then go up. And I actually really like that, and I give that to all my athletes as well because I think I do think you need it. And then there's a lot of, like, from a musculoskeletal perspective, there's a lot of stuff with your bone cycle and even soft tissue repair and stuff, like particularly your bone cycle is like a 3-week cycle where it's actually really valuable to have a lighter week. And I think the bone experts actually recommend really light, like much lighter than what we would ever give people, just to allow that bone replenishment stuff to happen. So I think, it's different if someone's running 30 Ks a week because that's all they have time to do. You probably don't need to drop their mileage to 20 Ks every 3 or 4 weeks. But I think in a higher mileage athlete who's sort of pushing the limits of what their body can tolerate rather than just, fitting in what they can around life, I think it's actually a really important thing to do from an injury prevention perspective, but also from, like you say, principles of progressive overload. So to gain fitness as well and allow your body to absorb the training.
I've never been great at putting in those like complete down weeks, because I would sort of look at it from the point of view that I don't generally set super hard sessions. So like if you're not training, because I feel like the 3 weeks on, 1 week down is if you're like training really, really hard for those 3 weeks. Whereas if you're training in that sort of comfortably hard zone a lot of the time, like the threshold type stuff, you probably don't get to end of a 3 week block as tired as maybe some higher intensity sessions or going to the well in those sort of 3 weeks. But the more that I think about it, the more I think people should probably have down weeks, even just from a mental point of view, just to reload. And we look at Izzi. Remember when we had Izzi on just after she broke the 10K road record? She'd come off the Olympics, had like a little bit of a reset, and then wasn't actually back running very long, and ran that really good City Bay race and then the 10K road record off not a lot of weeks of training after a little bit of a break.
Yeah, so, hadn't she only been jogging too? Like maybe hadn't even been doing sessions.
Yeah, so there's I guess an example of where having a bit of a break doesn't mean that you're going to lose fitness. Like you're going to come out of it the other side and be killing it. So
Andy had a break before he broke the Australian record. Like he had a niggle or something and had to have 3 or 4 days completely off. Like I reckon that was 2.5, 3 weeks out as well. I think also
that's where it's tricky when people race a lot, which like I guess kind of what you're talking about when you mentioned MTC, Brad. Like they do a lot of races and they probably use their race weeks as down weeks. And if you're, which I know that's different when you then have something that's like really, really high intensity in the middle of it. But if you're racing a lot and then trying to put down weeks in, but you also need taper weeks and recovery weeks, like balancing, you don't want it to affect your training to the point where you're not getting any mileage in. So it's kind of, it can be a tricky thing to balance.
So Brady,
like cross country season or something.
Yeah. So are you like a fan of having the now down week, and will you incorporate that into your program?
I think you've convinced me, Croaks, but it is funny that 24 hours ago I was talking to Chriso and Toby and I said I'm going to run 150k up to 10 weeks out from Ballarat and then I'm going to do 9 weeks at 200k.
There we go.
And then Toby's like, you're a dickhead. I'm like, no, I'm just going to commit to 10 weeks of 200k a week. But
when you ran your PB at Ballarat last year though, and you had some down weeks, didn't you, with sickness?
And I come off Osaka with you.
Yeah.
There you go. So
about that race.
Do you reckon I was,
So maybe,
could be something in that, Ellie. What do you reckon about like the super compensation about Osaka as well? You reckon that helped me 8 weeks before Ballarat? Got to be something in that.
Yeah, I am really interested in the super compensation stuff. I kind of it makes a lot of sense to me. And there's been a few times in my own running where I've done like, normal training. And then I've done, say, 3 weeks really hard, aggressive taper. And then I've run really well off that. But you just have to, it's so risky that with like being able to actually recover enough and absorb it and not get injured in that heavy,
Jeez, you're on to
I don't know.
You've got a good memory here because I forgot about this. I just looked up my Strava. The 4th week before the race, I ran 100k. I was sick.
There you go, Brady. So maybe you do need to incorporate these down weeks between now and Ballarat.
And then I went 190 to 201 and then 160 to race week.
2 big weeks were like maybe like a super compensation.
That is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. Low in confidence, I've got to go run 200k's to get my fitness back.
I'll do one down week, but then I'm going to double my mileage. Yeah, it's tricky. And like I remember listening to it when Jordan was talking about it with Christian, when they did did that week where he was trying to super compensate him, and like it must be a very tricky thing to get right if you're doing it in a very short burst where they were doing like were they doing like consecutive session days and stuff? Or like really, it was a really massive spike in load for that time, which, yeah, with that comes risk, I guess, of getting injured or in a hole. So, but yeah, I think the science behind the supercompensation stuff's quite interesting.
Good question, Croaks.
Good chat. Yeah, because I remember before I ran my PB, I was going like probably a bit better than what my coach thought I should be going at the time, and he actually scheduled in a complete like just jogging week, and so that was in like mid-January, and Lake Biwa was first weekend in March, so probably like 5 weeks out. It was like I don't know how many Ks I ran, but it was just, there was no session in that whole week. I just jogged, and I didn't really like it. But I ran okay by then putting together another like probably 2 to 3
on the up, not down.
Probably like 2 weeks, or no, I probably strung together maybe 3 more weeks of solid training after that sort of jogging week, and then into taper.
It is always a bit dangerous, isn't it, when someone's absolutely flying that far out? Like, it's just a bit too far out. You got to be so careful that, like, because it's just so hard to sustain that peak. You know, that peak fitness where you're like, you know, I can't even get puffed at the moment. It's so hard to sustain that for very long.
And as runners, though, like, we're so, I don't know, we don't want to take the foot off the throttle when you're going. That, like, if you're running so well,
it's a mentality.
The sessions feel so good, and then if somebody says, "Hey, just cool your jets, just go and take like a couple of days off," and you're like, "Can't do that."
Or even like, just run this rep, you know, a bit slower, and like you just feel so good that so psychologically you just want to then push into it, and it doesn't end well.
Good old distance runner mentality, hey?
Just named it ourselves. Yeah.
Anyway, good chat. Thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration, Brady has relied on their products like the resealable 90-gram gel for his long runs, and plenty of elite athletes trust them too, including Olympians and ultra runners. Visit precisionhydration.com and use the code INSIDERUN2025 for 15% off your first order.
Might put your name in there, Ellie, next week. This was funny at the start, but if Croak's going to read this every week that I rely on it, I think we should just start mixing the names up. Even if you don't use it, next week it's going to be Ellie relies on this on her long run, Croaks.
You're their pin-up boy,
remember
Brady.
Last time,
Yeah, we had to cut it. We had to cut it.
Yeah, that's right.
Don't say anything, otherwise Brady will be up late tonight.
Brady will be up cutting all night.
Do you know 90% of the stuff I have to cut from this show is Ellie Pashley related, Croaks?
Yes, I know.
She messaged me at 1:30 a.m. the other week to cut something out.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff went off the chopping block last week, actually, for the general release. I had to cut all that Kipchoge Bikili stuff out for iTunes.
Did you?
Oh, really?
And had to go. You're supposedly not allowed to say stuff like that. But anyway, so if patrons, don't go sending that file to anyone.
Are you going to have to cut when I said that it's...
Nah, that's okay. That's right. I think we'll get that across the line. What's going up, Croaks? Milrose Games, our boy Cam Myers. He'll run an Australian record there. Also got some men in the 3K as well. New South Wales 5K champs. Probably not getting as excited about that one. But there's going to be some stuff to talk about on next week's show. What do you got coming up in your life?
I'm getting back into routine. So Cole's had his first day of preschool today, and Lily's back her first day tomorrow, and then I'm in for my first days of relief teaching Wednesday and Thursday. So back to it.
Back on the grind. Ellie, what's happening in your life? What, 32 weeks? Still got a few weeks to go.
Still got a few weeks to go, yeah. Just plugging along, probably a few 30-minute ellipticals, going and rolling around in the beach to keep cool. That's basically what I've spent the last month doing. So, yeah, nothing exciting.
Massive thank you for coming on. It's been a pleasure having you on the show again, talking to you. You're in the complete darkness here now. You've been sitting there for so long that we can't even see you anymore, which just feels really weird just talking to this black screen. But we know you're there somewhere. And, I know the Patreon supporters are going to be and all the supporters of the Inside Running podcast are going to be so excited to hear your voice in the opening.
Thanks for having me, guys. Yeah, sorry, not much good running chat for everyone.
We're still going for like 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, quick show tonight.
Quick show. Both of you guys had nothing to recap from your training weeks pretty much, but we've still got through it.
Yeah. 65K between Ellie and myself for running.
Maybe the less we run, the more you just have to talk rubbish.
Yeah.
Someone did write in the other day, Croak, said like, hey, I think your episodes are getting like too long. And I'm like, that's how long they've always been. It's like we want to provide content.
Now, I do remember when we first started and we had like an initial meeting. I remember I was still overseas after Berlin, and it was about how long we thought the episode should go. And I think initially it was like, about an hour. So we have probably crept up over time.
I'm all for like give them as much as possible.
Yep.
You're running, you're driving, go for it, I reckon. Like, it's still got to be good. But yeah, anyway, this isn't good. We're talking shit at the moment. Wrap it up. That was episode 379 of the Inside Run podcast. Do it all again next week, Croaks.
See ya.
See
Thanks,
you guys.
Ellie.
Thanks again, Ellie.
See you guys. No worries.
Thanks, Ellie.
Child, that your skin can bring you so much pain. Now I hear you say